Well, hello, everybody. This is Jan Paval with Access Arts Live again with your weekly roundup of organ concert live stream action for this week of January 27th until February 1st or 2nd. And we have a great lineup for you all through the week of different kinds of performers. We've got young guns, we've got accomplished professionals. There's Mozart, there's 17th century composers, there's fairy tales with sand animation, collaborative concerts, bringing other instruments in to play with the organ, and the usual top quality organ recitals coming from Paris, France, and Tomsk, Siberia, and more. And I'm here, of course, to give you the more. Jan Paval. That's my job here at Access Arts Live, so I'm going to do that. Now, before I go any further, let me remind you, as usual, if you're watching this on Facebook, please like the video. If you're watching on any of our platforms, do yourself a favor, follow and or subscribe to Access Arts Live to make sure you don't miss any of the more than 1,000 live performances online that we're going to send you the links to this year. We did it in our first year. We're in the middle of doing it in our second year. And having said that, without further ado, let me move on to talking about the first of our performers this week on the organ. It's a young guy, and he's coming up in just an hour or so from Toronto. Tuesday, today, January 27th, Joshua Duncan Lee, the Wayne C. Vance organ scholar at St. James Cathedral in Toronto, will be playing a Mozart birthday celebration. So there, he is also a first-year organ performance student at the University of Toronto, but he first began studying the organ at the Cathedral Church of St. James back in October 2016 with Ian Sadler. It's an S.W. Warren organ rebuilt by Cassavant Frères and rebuilt again in 1976 by Phelps and Associates, 87 ranks, 67 speaking stops, over 4 manuals, and 6 divisions. That's all I can tell you. But if you love Mozart, you can hear some Mozart in about an hour's time, in about 54 minutes time, actually, because that's at 1 o'clock in Toronto, 10 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast, and 7 o'clock here in the evening, where it's currently 6 minutes after 6 in the evening here in Paris, France. That's where I am for the next 2 months. Eat your hearts out. Okay, next up, we go to Wednesday. And we don't have all the usual Wednesday live streams anymore. Glasgow University is off the charts now. But we do have another young gun playing another concert. Young organist George Balfour is featured in the Temple Church London weekly live stream on Wednesday, January 28th. That will be at 2:15 in the evening European time, 8:15 in the morning on the East Coast, 5:15 on the West Coast, and a little past midnight down under in Australia, in places like Melbourne or Sydney, but earlier if you're in Perth out on the West Coast. The only thing I could find on George Balfour, aside from his photo there, is that he played the Saint-Saëns Organ Symphony in 2023 with the Nottingham Youth Orchestra. George, make yourself more availably known, and I'll have more to say about you the next time you do an online live stream. That's a Harrison & Harrison Limited organ that was originally built in 1927 for a ballroom in Scotland, and the legendary Marcel Dupré went up to inaugurate it himself. It was moved to London by rail in 1954 to be installed at the church, and was completely taken apart and overhauled at the Harrison & Harrison workshop in Durham about a decade ago. Now, the next organist I have to tell you about is also on Wednesday. Again, it's a young guy. It's a student at Oxford University, but this time, bless them at Queen's College, Oxford, because they tell us what people are actually going to be playing. Do you fancy early music in the French late 17th century style played on the organ? Well, if so, then you're in luck. Wednesday, January 28th, Queen's College, Oxford, live streams Luke Mitchell of St. Marylebone Church playing Muffet, Froberger, Frescobaldi, and some improvised versets of his own in the French late 17th century style, with violinist Verena Eggensberger and Arthur Barton on the chamber organ along for the ride. I don't have pictures of all of them, I don't think. I had hoped to elaborate some more of that today, but we had serious technical problems that I had to waste 90 minutes on earlier in the day. Anyway, tell you a little bit more about Luke Mitchell. He's a London-based organist, harpsichordist, and a conductor. He's got a repertoire across 5 centuries, we're told, but a particular focus on 17th century repertoire and improv. He's done recitals at St. Paul's, Trinity College, Cambridge, done all Bach programs for the St. Albans International Organ Festival. And as I said, he's also an active harpsichordist and continuo player, former organ scholar at Queen's College, Oxford, and thereafter studied at the Schola Cantorum to be a conductor. Currently, he's still a student at the Royal Academy of Music, doing postgraduate harpsichord work, and he's the assistant director of music at St. Marylebone Church. So there you have it. What's he playing? I got to tell you what he's playing. He's playing several pieces by Georg Muffat, a toccata prima, sonata in D major, and toccata septima. Then a couple of pieces by Johann Froberger, toccata in E minor, and then a couple of pieces by Frescobaldi, a Fantasia prima and a canzone quarta. And then he finishes. He's also going to play 4 improvised versets on the Crudelis Herodis in French late 17th century style. So he's composing in that style now. Precocious guy. You might want to check him out. Sounds good. Then we're into Russian concert live streams for the next few days after Wednesday. In fact, I think the first one is actually on Wednesday. Let me double check my notes here to make sure I steer you right. Yeah, this is an interesting organist. In fact, I think I have 2 photos of her. That's one of the photos that she uses. Let me also put up the other photo that she is wont to use at different times. Here she is. Well, she looks much younger, but these are more or less contemporary photos. If you're a connoisseur of organ music, Artbene's YouTube channel promises this live stream is for you. Wednesday, January 28th, they're live streaming Anastasia Igoshina of St. Lawrence Church in Graz, Austria, and the Monastery of the Order of St. Elizabeth there, playing Louis Viern's Westminster Bells, a transcription of Mussorgsky's Night on Bald Mountain, plus Bach, Schumann, Pachelbel, and more. That will be at 6 in the evening, European time, on Wednesday, January 28th, noon on the East Coast, 9 in the morning in LA and Seattle. We give you the link to the YouTube channel. We give you the link to the organ specs. It's a Kuhn organ that was given to the Catholic Cathedral in Moscow by a Protestant cathedral. Now Anastasia Igoshina is Russian. So how does she end up in Graz, Austria? Well, first she studied from 2014 to 2019 at the Tchaikovsky Conservatory in Moscow. But then, contemporaneously in 2017, she enrolled as an undergrad at Graz Hochschule. the University of Music and Performing Arts, and graduated from there. So what's she going to be playing? She'll play some Bach, a Fantasia and Fugue in C minor, BWV 562. Ach, bleib bei uns, Herr Jesu Christ, BWV 649. Kommst du nun, Jesu, von Himmel herunter auf Erden, BWV 650. Then Schumann on a fugue on a theme of Bach. Then Pachelbel, Chaconne in D minor, so some Gilman offertory on the theme of Ophilii, Mussorgsky's Night on Bald Mountain, as arranged for organ by Igoshina herself, plus someone else named L. Zettler, then Louis Vierne's Evening Star, and then finishing off with the bum, 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 as transcribed for the organ. It's a beautiful piece. It's a beautiful piece. I don't think from what they're playing, and I didn't list everything because I can't go on and on and on. But anyway, it sounds like something that's meant to appeal to connoisseurs of the organ. So if that's you, check it out, free of charge. Then on Friday, there's another live stream coming at you from the Catholic Cathedral in Moscow. And this one is much more elaborate. This is collaborative music. It's, let me make sure that I put up the right photographs for you. I need to put up Yulia Ikonikova on the organ. That's her. And then I also need to put up for you the sand animation artist Lydia Miller, who I just think is terrific. Where do I have Lydia Miller? Do I have Lydia Miller? That'll teach me. Here she is. Let me tell you about the organist first and about the concert. Friday, January 30th, Artbene's Catholic Cathedral live streams another musical fairy tale with Yulia Ikonikova on the Kuhn organ, sand animation by Lydia Miller, saxophonist Ivan Dimma, and flautist Irina Stashinska to the music of Vivaldi, Bach, Purcell, Telemann, Charles Marie Widor, and others. That'll be at 7 in the evening, European time, 1 o'clock on the East Coast, 10 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. It's the story of the Fairy Queen by Hans Christian Andersen. And I just love sand animation. Let me show you an example of sand animation from The Princess and the Pea, which Lydia Miller did last year. The images are just... Look at that image. That is, she does that off the cuff as the story is being told in Russian by a Russian actress. She designs one image after another like this in sand, and you see it on the screen. But the screen will also go up and back and show you the other performing artist. But it's just marvelous what she's able to do with sand animation. And here's the saxophonist who's along for the ride. Ivan Dimma is a Yamaha artist. He's very active as a concert saxophonist with playing as a soloist with different symphony orchestras across Russia, and also with chamber musicians like the Russian pianist Boris Berezovsky, plays at the Moscow Phil a lot, and he also teaches saxophone. So he's a main man for teaching saxophone. The flautist, I think I have a picture of the flautist as well. So they're throwing everything but the kitchen sink here is Irina Stashinskaya. This is her. This is the flautist. She's a top Russian flautist. She's a senior lecturer at the Moscow State Institute of Music, the Schnitke Institute. She's the artistic director of the Voice of the Flute Festival. in Nizhny Novgorod and the Wind Music Festival in Kaliningrad. Back in 2008, she won the Rising Star Award from Sir James Galway when she was studying in his master classes. She's an exclusive Paval flutes artist, and that's a top flute maker. She's a founder of the Verena Stashinskaya Flute School. So started at Gnesen, but finished off at the Alfred Cortot School, or Cortot School in Paris, that's about 5 metro stops from where I live. The Salle Cortot is located in that school too. So when she was only 16 years old, she was already playing for the Moscow Philharmonic as a co-principal flute. So she's really top dog. So these are top people. As for the organist herself here, Yulia Ikonikova, she graduated from the Moscow Conservatory with a degree in piano and organ. She spends a lot of time collaborating with the Petrovsk State Philharmonic Orchestra, where she's often a soloist playing concertos. And she's an organ teacher at the Petrozavodsk State Conservatory. So these are all top people. Some of the pieces they'll be playing as music illustrative of the story of the Fairy Queen is portions from Purcell's Suite from the Fairy Queen. You know, the Fairy Queen is the longest poem in the English language. It is, and I read the whole thing because I was really into epic poetry when I was at university. Then Telemann's Sonnet for flute and organ, Bach's aria Erbarmedic from the St. Matthew Passion, Vivaldi movements 2 and 3 from his double concerto in G minor. So they'll finish up with a couple of pieces that Ivan Dima himself composed, Hayao and Zambia. I'm telling you, this is. You may not know all these Russian performers, but this is a star-studded event, honestly. And with that absolutely lovely sand animation by Lydia Miller, which never ceases to amaze me. I just love that stuff. So I can't recommend it highly enough to you. Then I think let's move on to the next concert then. Yeah. Which is another collaborative organ and concert. Saturday, January 31st, organist Maria Rudneva and trumpeter Ilya Nevretinov play the well-known Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor to start off. There's always some organ solos in these things. The not-so-well-known Gedicke Trumpet Concerto and works by Fyodor Saint-Saëns, Tchaikovsky, Tariverdiev, etc. Live stream free of charge from the Catholic Cathedral by Artbene. That'll be at 6 in the evening, European time, noon on the East Coast, 9 in the morning on the West Coast. Maria Rudneva is a graduate of the Novosibirsk Conservatory, and then she did graduate work at Moscow State Conservatory, where she also studied harpsichord. But she's done a lot of training outside of Russia, including in Graz, Austria, which I just mentioned earlier with one of the other Russian performers this week. As for Ilyas Nevretinov, the trumpeter, he's a Yamaha artist, so they like him. And he's also listed as an artist at the Bolshoi Theater. This duo, this past September, performed a program, The Worlds of Trumpet and Organ, Golden Masterpieces of 4 Centuries, at the Russian National Museum of Music. So this is what the French would call a duo that is rodé, worked in. Now, as I said, they start with that Bach fugue, concerto in D major in 3 movements after Vivaldi. Vidor's Toccata from Organ Symphony No. 5. Tchaikovsky's Neapolitan Song. Saint-Saëns' The Swan from the Carnival of the Animals. They'll finish off with something that's, I guess, well known to Russians, Mikhail Taryverdyev's Waltz from the film The Irony of Fate. And that finishes off this week's 3 live streams from the Artbene and the Roman Catholic Cathedral in Moscow. We have a couple more live streams to tell you just 2 more. One of them takes us back to Western Europe and the St. Eustache Church in the heart of Paris, which I may attend in person this time. They get enormous crowds there. I'll put up their photo that they use. There he is, St. Eustache Church in the heart of Paris, live streams, resident organist and superb showman, Baptiste Florian Mal-Ouvrard, Sunday, February 1st, playing a prelude, fugue, and variation by César Franck, and Alexander Guillemot's first sonata for organ on that 7,952 pipe Van den Heuvel organ. We give you the link. We also give you a link to the organ specs. If you want to know more about that organ and the architecture of St. Eustache Church and why hundreds of people show up, 300 plus people, they just crowd into that place every Sunday, regardless of who's playing. It's a great organ. On our YouTube channel, there's an interview that I have with Thomas Hospital, who is a co-resident organist at the church with Baptiste Florian Mal-Ouvrard. Baptiste Mal-Ouvrard really knows how to play that organ there. So it'll be a good live stream to enjoy. Or if you're in Paris, drop by. You might see me. And then finally, we have one more live stream that I want to tell you about this week, and it will be on Monday, February 2nd, which is my sister Donna's birthday. Happy birthday in advance to Donna Paval Jansen. And this last concert comes to you from Tomsk, Siberia. Monday, February 2nd, the Tomsk Philharmonic's resident organist Dmitry Ushakov completes his cycle of playing all the organ works of Dietrich Buxtehude, whose works were chosen to all be played in response to audience choices, as this is an interactive online ongoing series. That'll be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon European time, 8 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, unwatchable time on the West Coast, but 11 o'clock in the evening down under in Australia, or a little earlier. That's on the East Coast of Australia. On the West Coast in Perth, it'll be a little earlier, maybe 9 o'clock. Not sure. Anyway, Dmitry Ushakov loves to do this interactive stuff. He has an audience choice format that he uses now and again, in which you can log on to their website, click on a link, and he gives you a list of maybe 20 different pieces he could potentially play on a certain theme, and you pick the ones that you like best, and then the ones that all the viewers like the best are the ones that he ends up playing. Folks, that's what we have for you this week in terms of live streams of organ concerts. You know, I hope that one, more, some, or any of these live streams uplifts you, inspires you, or just shows you a heck of a good time. And some of those collaborative concerts, I think the trumpet thing, I think that'll be wild, trumpet and organ. But anyway, let me remind you before I leave you, I will be back in about a half an hour's time to do this week's roundup of chamber and contemporary music. But in the meantime, just in case you don't tune in for that, let me remind you, if you're watching this on Facebook, please like the video. If you're watching this on any of our other platforms, do yourself a favor, follow and or subscribe to Access Arts Live to make sure you get the more than 1,000 live links to live performances of all kinds that we send or provide to our followers. We are on Facebook, YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn. And with that, I will say ciao for now. Be back in a half an hour or so to do that other piece. Enjoy.